that is such an enticing descriptor, and I've been wanting to pick up more speculative fiction in translation. Heard brilliant things about both of these romantasy books. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this particular video, I'm going to be speaking about 15 different books that I'm really excited to get to, but before I jump into the video, I'm just going to ramble for a little bit. Number one, you might be able to already hear it in my voice. I am a little bit poorly. So we came back from New Zealand and, you know, maybe... Sorry. Possibly running around the Shire during a thunderstorm wasn't the best thing I've ever done for my health. It is mostly gone now. It's just like the lingering cough and also my sinuses being very painful. This is the last day I had to film this and this is why my voice sounds a bit funny. Sorry about that. You guys are going to get a little bit of a huskier version of my voice in this video. And also it means that I haven't been able to make as many videos over the last few weeks for you guys because by the time you watch this, we're going to be going on a trip to America. Tyler and I have never been out of the Asia Pacific region before, so we're going to LA, we're going to New York. I'm very, very excited, but obviously I need to rest in the lead up to that so that I'm not getting on a plane still feeling unwell. But anyway, here we are. Hopefully you can bear with my voice. Let's jump into the video. Here are 15 books I want to read before the end of the year. The very first book I want to talk about today is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Now, I've made a promise to myself and a tacit promise to you guys that when I do these videos of the books I'm excited to read, I will not repeat books I've already mentioned to you because I don't want to waste your time. However, I bought this book during the week of my birthday. I'm pretty sure I bought it in that vlog and I'm really excited to get to it. Kazuo Ishiguro is an author I really love. I love The Buried Giant. I love Never Let Me Go. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Didn't love Clara and the Sun quite as much, although it was still a serviceable read, so I'm really excited to get to this one. This book won the 1989 Booker Prize and it is about Stevens, the long-serving butler of Darlington Hall, embarks on a leisurely holiday that will take him deep into the countryside but also into his own past. Reflecting on his years of service, he must re-examine his life in the face of changing Britain and question whether his dignity and properness have come at a greater cost to himself. To be honest, the premise of this book doesn't really grab me all that much. I'm reading this because it is Kazuo Ishiguro's most celebrated novel. I've heard amazing things. The next book I really want to read is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Again, I have so much brain fog. I'm literally just gonna look up the blurb of this book. The cover is stunning. It's the thing that originally drew me into the book. I think it's so beautiful. I think this is not the Australian cover. God, we in Australia suffer so much because I feel like we always get the worst covers for everything. Have you guys seen the Australian cover for the Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki? The Australian cover is just this duck that looks badly photoshopped on a starry background. This cover drives me absolutely nuts when the British and American covers are so much prettier. I don't get it. Anyway, Remarkably Bright Creatures, an exploration of friendship, reckoning, and hope, tracing a widow's unlikely connection with the giant Pacific octopus. Now, I love deep sea creatures. I love the aesthetic of the ocean. I love whales, and I find everything to do with the sea really interesting, but also just really tickles the inner nerd in me that just loves the ocean and loves sciencey stuff like that. After Tova Sullivan's husband died, she began working the night shift at the Sowell Bay Aquarium, mopping floors and tidying up. Keeping busy has always helped her cope, which she's been doing since her 18-year-old son, Eric, mysteriously vanished on a boat in Puget Sound over 30 years ago. This novel is a gentle reminder that sometimes taking a hard look at the past can help uncover a future that once felt impossible. This book really drew me in, A, because the cover is absolutely stunning, and B, because it has such overwhelmingly positive reviews. The third book I'm really excited to read before the year is out is Strange Beasts of China by Yang Yi. This book went through an absolute ordeal to get to me. Again, I'm very particular about covers because I love the visual aspect of book design. You guys know that I love art and illustration, all that kind of stuff. So if I can strategically get the best cover of a book, I will try and do that. Anyway, I ordered this book online. I'm pretty sure I ordered it from Book Depository. I specifically ordered this cover and it took 3.5 months to get to me. It got lost in transit. It was this whole entire thing, but I finally got the book and it is stunning and it's translated from Chinese. I'm not sure if it's Cantonese or Mandarin, by Jeremy Tiang. I haven't read many books translated from Chinese, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to pick up this book. It sounds really interesting and fantastical, and I've been wanting to pick up more speculative fiction in translation. In the city of Yong'an, an amateur cryptozoologist is commissioned to uncover the story stories of its fabled beasts. These creatures live alongside humans in near inconspicuousness, some with ancient forebears, others engineered as artificial breeds. Part detective story, part metaphysical inquiry, Strange Beasts of China addresses existential questions of identity, being, love, and morality with whimsy and grace. It sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm so excited to read it. I've heard it's a very unique story. The next book on my list is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I have absolutely no pretext for this book. I was walking through Dimmicks a few days ago and I saw it and I read the blurb and I was really, really excited by it, but I was still reading A Court of Thorns and Roses at the time, so I was like, don't you dare buy another book while you're in the middle of reading a 5-book series. Anyway, I read the blurb. It sounded really cool. Effie Sayer has always believed in fairy tales. She had no choice since childhood. She's been haunted by visions of the Fairy King. She's found solace only in the pages of Angarad, author Emrys Merchant's beloved epic about a mortal girl who falls in love with the Fairy King and then destroys him. Effie's tattered, dog-eared copy is all that's keeping her afloat through her stifling first term at Lyre's prestigious architectural college. So when Myrddin's family announces a contest to design the late author's house, Effie feels certain this is her destiny. But Hirith Manor is an impossible task, a musty, decrepit estate on the brink of crumbling into a hungry sea, and when Effie arrives, she finds she isn't the only one who's made a temporary home there. Preston Haylori, a stodgy young literature scholar, is studying Myrddin's papers and is determined to prove her favourite author is a fraud. There are dark forces, both mortal and magical, conspiring against them, and the truth may bring them both to ruin. I think that sounds so fun. Fairies, scholarship, it sounds beautiful, it sounds interesting. Before I jump onto the next book, I just wanted to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is a website builder which allows people to create stunning websites. Squarespace uses Fluid Engine, which is a next-generation website design system that makes it incredibly easy for users to unlock their creativity. You can customize every design detail with drag and drop technology for desktop or mobile. Fluid Engine is built in and ready to go on any new Squarespace site, making it so simple to design exactly the website you want and to connect with the people who are interested in the things that you make. If you're looking to make a website, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Christy and Jones to save 10% off your purchase of a website or domain. Books number 5 and 6 are both by Rebecca Ross. The first one is A River Enchanted and the second one is Divine Rivals. I think both of these are duologies, and I believe Divine Rivals, the second book, is coming out in January or maybe late December of this year. I've heard brilliant things about both of these romantasy books, and given the experience that I had of reading Fourth Wing, actually, that's a bonus book. The second Fourth Wing book is going to be coming out in November when I'm overseas. So actually, there's 16 books on this list that I want to read. But anyway, I started reading romantasy books this year and they're fun and I enjoy them. And I've heard a lot of people recommending both of these books by Rebecca Ross, so I want to check them out. This is the blurb of A River Enchanted. Jack Tamerlane hasn't set foot on Cadence in 10 long years, content to study music at the mainland university. But when young girls start disappearing from the Isle, Jack is summoned home to help find them. Enchantments run deep on Cadence. Gossip is carried by the wind, plaid shawls can be as strong as armor, and the smallest cut of a knife can instill fathomless fear. The capricious spirits that rule the Isle by fire, water, earth, and wind find mirth in the lives of the humans who call the land home. As Jack and Adara reluctantly work together, they find that they make better allies than rivals as their partnership turns into something more, and an older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo all of them. Again, a very fun, interesting vibe, a little bit academic, a little bit like mysterious and interesting. Divine Rivals. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, they must face the depths of hell in a war among gods to seal their fate forever. And so essentially it's the same thing where, like, I've seen so much hype for these books. A lot of people love them. They've really enjoyed them. Book number 7 that I want to talk about is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This one has a really intriguing title. The cover looks really interesting. A boy has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library older than empires and larger than cities. A girl has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust when nightmares stalk and no one goes. The world has never even noticed them. That's about to change. Their stories spiral around each other across worlds and time. This is a tale of truth and lies and hearts and the blurring of one into another, a journey on which knowledge erodes certainty, and on which, though the pen may be mightier than the sword, blood will be spilled and cities burned. That sounds so cool. I love it when books have really interesting blurbs that don't necessarily feel like they fit typical structures, because I feel like that tells me that the book's going to have really interesting writing, which in a speculative book is like the ultimate thing that I want to read. So I'm excited to read that one. It sounds very cool. Okay, the next one, I am again breaking that rule where I don't don't bring up books that I've already brought up multiple times. However, I'm going to talk about it anyway. This is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami because I finally bought the book. And when I say book, it's split into 3 books. This is supposed to be one book. I feel ready to tackle another Haruki Murakami book. They are such a significant undertaking and I always leave them feeling a little bit traumatized and a bit like dead inside. So I feel like I need to be in the right headspace in order to read them. That doesn't sound like a very appealing thing to do, but like I love his writing. I love the way that he writes. I love the way that he depicts Tokyo. This book is all about cults and secret societies and tunnels under the city and a young woman named Almame. I've basically forgotten the blurb of this at this point, but I'm excited to read it. I'm gonna read it. This is a really, really beautiful edition. I started reading the first like chapter of this when I was sitting in a kisaten, so that's like a traditional, not traditional, but like older style like coffee house when I was in Kyoto earlier in the year, and it was such a beautiful vibe and I really loved it. And the first chapter of this book was beautifully written, as is always the way with Haruki Murakami, so I'm excited to get to this. I swear, the next time you guys hear me talk about 1Q84, it will be because I have read it. The next one is Honeybees and Distant Thunder by Riku Onda. I've heard that it's like quite peaceful and meditative and interesting. I have very little context for this book other than the fact that I put it on my TBR because it sounded like it was beautifully written, and I can't even tell you which booktuber recommended it, but I was watching someone's video and they recommended it, so this is the book that's currently on my TBR. Tender and intense, Honeybees and Distant Thunder is the unflinching story of love, courage, and rivalry as 3 young people come to understand what it means to truly be a friend. I've heard wonderful things about the book. I'm excited to read it. It's on the list. Oftentimes my choices before I start reading books are really, really researched and really specific, and other times I'm just like, it sounds vaguely interesting. Let's slap it on the list. This is one of those books. But generally, I love Japanese contemporary fiction, so I'm just happy to put as many on my list as possible. The next book is Scattered All Over the Earth by Yoko Tawada. I read Yoko Tawada's other book, The Emissary, when we were in Japan at the end of last year, and then when we went back to Japan in May, I picked up this book because I love The Emissary. I thought it was so beautiful and interestingly written. It was a really fascinating speculative novel that was so forlorn and sad and incredibly unique in its world building, and so I'm hoping that this book is along a similar vein. It's kind of the antithesis to The Emissary. So The Emissary is a book which is about Japan in a context in which they've completely shut their borders and no one is allowed into Japan. Japan has also gotten rid of all elements of foreignness in the country, so there's no more loan words. Children are becoming really weak and elderly people are living for a really long time. And so this is the antithesis of that, because this is a book which is about Japan disappearing and all the Japanese people left scattered all over the earth sort of coming together and finding each other and working out what to do. I'm hoping that it has the same intricate and fantastic world building. It would be good if it's not quite as sad and depressing as the first one, but I will appreciate it anyway if it is. Again, a really beautiful cover. I picked this up at Dakinyama Tea site. I believe I included it in a vlog. The next book I'm excited to read before the end of the year is Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens by Shinkari Chandran. This is an Australian book. It's set in Sydney, and I picked up this book because A, I saw some wonderful things about it, and B, the cover is really cute and cozy. I've read the first few chapters of this book, and do not be deceived, this book is not cute and cozy. I think it might have some cozy moments in it. However, there is a scene very early on which is like really, really graphic and confronting. I would say a bunch of content warnings for like sexual assault and stuff. So be really aware of that before you pick up this book. This is not just like a cozy little novel about a nursing home. There's some pretty significant examples in here of that, of explorations of racism. It's already a really well written, really interesting book. However, I was not in the headspace. The marketing of the book did not prepare me for that. Now that I've prepared myself for a slightly different reading experience, I'm excited to read this book. I read very little Australian contemporary literature. Most of it doesn't appeal to me because we don't have that many speculative writers here, and I find that a lot of the books are quite similar. And so I am really forcing myself to try and pick up books by people who live in the same country as me. This book is about a nursing home in the quiet suburb of West Grove in Sydney, populated with residents with colourful histories, each with their own secrets, triumphs, and failings. This is their safe place, an oasis of familiar delights, a beautiful garden, a busy kitchen, and a bountiful recreation schedule. But this ordinary neighbourhood is not without its prejudices. The serenity of Cinnamon Gardens is threatened by malignant forces more interested in what makes this refuge different different rather than embracing the calm companionship that makes this place home to so many. I think it is beautifully written so far. I'm a little bit of the way through the book, and now that I've prepared myself, I am excited to read it. The next one is The Will of Many by James Islington. So speaking of Australian authors, this one is on my list, or at least would have been on my list purely because this is an Australian author. I get so excited as soon as the speculative authors who are doing well are Australian. In the same way I got really excited to read Shelley Parker Chan's She Who Became the Sun. However, The Will of Many, I've seen so many of my favorite book content creators speak about this book. I've seen some really positive feedback. The world building looks really interesting and intricate. I like the sound of the societal hierarchies here. It draws from Roman history, I believe, which is kind of funny given like how often do you think about the Roman Empire? I'm sure that author loved all that discussion. The next one is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I really loved reading Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I've read the first book in that series. I still haven't picked up the second two, although I am still planning on it. And I have heard amazing things about this particular book. Laini Taylor is a really talented author. I love her writing style. It really gels with my taste. And I've heard this book recommended in a lot of lists of fantasy books that are really atmospheric. There are a lot of vibes going on, and that's exactly the type of fantasy book that I want to read at the moment. The dream chooses the dreamer, not the other way around. And Laszlo Strange, a war orphan and junior librarian, has always feared that his dream chose poorly. Since he was 5 years old, he's been obsessed with the mythic lost city of Weep, but it would take someone bolder than he to cross the half of the world in search for it. Then a stunning opportunity presents itself in the person of a hero called the Godslayer. He has to seize his chance or lose his dream forever. Mostly, I do want to read it because I know I love Laini Taylor's writing style. The next one is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read The Night Circus back in 2020, and I loved the concept of The Night Circus. I loved the imagery and the atmospheric nature of that book. However, from a character and plot perspective, it didn't perfectly work for me. I really want to give Erin Morgenstern's work another go though. I really want to read The Starless Sea. Aesthetically, it sounds really beautiful, and I love the ocean imagery. It sounds very cool and very up my alley, and so it's been on my list for absolutely ages. I do also want to reread The Night Circus. I want to give it another go. This book is described as a timeless love story set in a secret underground world, a place of pirates, painters, lovers, liars, and ships that sail upon a starless sea. Like, that is such an enticing descriptor for me. I love pirates. I love the ocean. It sounds really cool, and I really want to read it. And then the very last one is The Selected Poems of Emily Dickinson. I have started reading this. You can see some little tabs in here. I'm a little bit of the way through. I have set myself the goal of reading more poetry this year, and I started reading this a few weeks ago, and then I put it down and I didn't pick it back up again. So I'm excited to get through it. Literally just the poems of Emily Dickinson. She's a really famous poet, and I feel very late to the game getting to her work now, but I've seen so many people loving her poetry, and so I really wanted to read this. And this is the last book I have on my list of 15 books I really want to read before the end of the year, which aren't the books that I want to have featured in upcoming vlogs because I didn't want to spoil those vlogs for you guys. Thank you for bearing with me for this whole entire video while I have a horrible scratchy throat and about 3 working brain cells because I've got so much brain fog. Thank you for your patience with this video probably being a little bit more shoddily made than normal. And also I wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my channel. I would not be able to make these videos without everyone over on Patreon. Over on Patreon we have a whole bunch of bonus content, we have bonus videos. I'm going to be doing another Patreon only Q&A soon, so I do a call out and then I answer literally every question, assuming I can answer every question, or at least I have done so far. And so I'm going to be doing that soon. We've got our Discord channel, we've got our book club, we've got so many things. So if you want to check out Patreon, there's a link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.